One of the main reasons Angela wants Tommy to transfer the family to Fort Worth is to be closer to Ainsley. Tommy and Angela's college-bound daughter is enrolled at Texas Christian University, which is in Fort Worth. Angela wants to be nearby for Ainsley, projecting that she only has a few precious years left until her stunning daughter gets married. Tommy also benefits from going to Fort Worth, where M-Tex is headquartered. From Midland, Tommy has to travel 300 miles one way to Fort Worth for meetings. Tommy is allowed to use the company's Gulfstream plane as president, but Norris frequently prefers the more than 8-hour round-trip drive. However, M-Tex's oil fields lie in Midland, and Tommy still needs to make the rounds back. Despite being president, Tommy doesn't seem to want to surrender his obligations as a landman. Plus, Cooper is still in Midland, and his son needs Tommy more than ever after unwittingly finding himself in business with Gallino. Speaking of Gallino, who's known publicly as Danny Morell, Tommy being in Fort Worth enables him keep a closer check on the drug lord. Landman Season 2 has yet to pull the trigger on the Norris family's transfer to Fort Worth, but it will change Taylor Sheridan's blockbuster Paramount Plus series for the better. Landman Season 2 set up a significant transition that Tommy Norris and his family needs. Tommy's life could not get more complicated as he balances his new obligations as president of M-Tex, the havoc caused by his family, and dealing with Gallino, the cartel chief offering his friendship. Tommy Norris presumably yearns for the relative simplicity of his life when Landman began. At that time, Tommy was M-Tex's top landman and the trusted troubleshooter of his best friend, M-Tex's owner, the late Monty Miller. Tommy resided in a rented house in Midland, Texas, with attorney Nate and petroleum engineer Dale. As Landman Season 1 continued, Tommy had a full house. First, Tommy's adolescent daughter, Ainsley, resided with him. Tommy's ex-wife, Angela, moved in shortly after. Tommy's son, Cooper, also grudgingly visits, appending the previous tranquility of Tommy, Dale, and Nate's man cave. Tommy and his family's relocation from Midland to Fort Worth, Texas, was made possible by Landman Season 2, Episode 3. When Tommy drove to Fort Worth to meet with Cammy Miller at M-Tex and Gallino, aka Danny Morell, at his investment firm, Angela joined Tommy to look at houses. Angela discovered a huge house that she loves, and Tommy can't afford. Although they haven't made a decision or closed on a new property, the Norris family isn't long for Midland at this pace. Nate, Dale, and even Rebecca Falcone are eager for the Norris women to leave Tommy's rental house. Sharing space with Tommy's family has been particularly difficult for Nate, who works from home. Between Angela pretending she doesn't know his name to bikini-clad and cheering Ainsley generating continual juvenile diversions, Nate makes no bones about how much he's suffering. Dale and Rebecca also bite their tongues at the Norris girls. Although the M-Tex men will miss Tommy whenever the Norris family does pack up for Fort Worth, Nate and Dale will very much relish the return to manly peace and the absence of Angela trashing her own family dinners in Tommy-induced rages while everyone ducks for cover. In Landman Season 2, Andy Garcia assumes two distinct personas, and it would be helpful to clarify the distinction between Dan Morell and Gallino. When he rescued Tommy from cartel leader Jimenez at the conclusion of Landman Season 1, Andy Garcia made his debut as Gallino. It wasn't a straight rescue, though, as Gallino revealed himself a villain when he informed Tommy that the cartel was intending to strong-arm its way into M-Tex and the oil company through Tommy. Now, in Landman Season 2, Gallino is making good on that promise. He's now backing Cooper's independent oil company and his plan to drill into played-out wells, and he made him a deal that was too good to be true. Gallino also still wants a business connection with Tommy, and he's not above threatening him to obtain what he wants. Gallino's new alter ego has a part to play in his goals, therefore it's important getting to know Dan Morell and why he exists. One thing is certain, regardless of Gallino's dual identities, Tommy won't be able to get rid of him with ease. Gallino has consistently emphasized his willingness to collaborate with Tommy, and his investment in Cooper's career and future is confirmation of that. Gallino believes Tommy is a good investment, so Tommy won't be able to convince him to cease wanting to be friends with him. As he remarked to Cammy, Gallino invests in people he believes in, and Tommy is one of those people. Being friends with Tommy opens up a lot of opportunities for Gallino, including the fact that he has Cooper under control, that he met Cammy because of Tommy, and that he may be planning to start investing in her and M-Tex now that he believes in her. Tommy serves as Gallino's entry point into the oil industry, and he intends to use Tommy for as long as possible, whether Tommy likes it or not. Of course, Gallino's investments are also illegal. In summary, Tommy won't be rid of Gallino until the latter is dead, imprisoned, or lets him go. He's too vital to Gallino, and Gallino sees too much profit to be made in a man as hardworking and skilled as Tommy. It's not quite apparent what Gallino/Dan Morel has planned for Tommy, Cooper, and maybe Cammy and M-Tex in Landman Season 2, but there's a very low chance that it's nice, and a very low chance Tommy will be able to get out of it. Andy Garcia's character is also known as Dan Morel, even though Landman first introduced us to him as Gallino. Dan founded Sonrisa, a finance and investment company that chose to use Cooper's novel approach to enter the oil business. He is married to an Italian woman named Bella, whom Tommy, Angela, and Cammy met at the clubhouse, as we discovered in Landman Season 2, Episode 3. Bella may not be aware of Dan's cartel connections, and she also seems to believe that he is from Cuba and cannot return for political reasons. In terms of business, Dan and Sonrisa are in the investing industry. Dan even sees his ties to the cartel as Gallino as a form of investment and diversification of his holdings. It's interesting to note that Dan appears to have true faith in Cooper and his business plan, that he told Tommy that Cooper has uncovered a blind hole in the oil sector by digging in wells no other company would touch, and he seemed to sincerely believe his investment in Cooper is fair and mutually beneficial. It's not exactly apparent why Gallino employs the name Dan Morel in a professional, public-facing capacity, but there are a few possible answers. In order to protect himself legally and from cartel violence, Garcia's character probably uses two names, Gallino, his cartel persona, and Dan, his professional and legal persona. Having two identities probably helps Gallino maintain his life apart from individuals like Bella, because he is also a very private man. In truth, Gallino may possibly be the alias, while Dan Morel may be the real identity of Andy Garcia's character. Dan goes to great measures to explain to Tommy that he only sees the cartel as an unconventional venture because he considers himself an investor. Dan certainly utilizes Gallino so he may invest in an underground enterprise like narcotics. After all, the majority of his commercial transactions have been completely legitimate financial investments in oil, for which Dan is more beneficial than Gallino. There's an invisible murderer in Landman Season 2, but the show didn't completely explain the hazardous gas leak that nearly lost Dale and Boss their lives. While hunting, a party of wild boar hunters came across an oil tanker in Landman Season 2, Episode 3. They quickly fell over and perished. Later, Boss, Dale, and a few other M-Tex personnel arrived to the same tanker and began coughing, vomiting, and freaking out. Landman didn't properly define H2S, even though Dale did mention an H2S gas leak and the situation's lethality was obvious. Given how much of an issue H2S caused Dale and Boss and how it will probably add to Tommy and M-Tex's expanding list of issues, that explanation is really significant. Regretfully, H2S is a known and actual risk associated with the oil sector. As was previously noted, H2S, or hydrogen sulfide, is the gas that killed people in Landman Season 2, Episode 3. The M-Tex employees were able to recognize hydrogen sulfide so fast and protect themselves because it is a very hazardous and combustible chemical molecule that, at low quantities, smells like rotten eggs. As Dale pointed out, H2S typically sticks close to the ground because it is a heavier gas than air. Unfortunately, oil sector personnel and roughnecks are likely already familiar with H2S. OSHA states that hydrogen sulfide leaks can happen anywhere and at any time, from acid treatments on rigs and tanks or from subterranean oil and gas wells. Hydrogen sulfide is odorless and can cause breathing difficulties, organ damage, loss of consciousness, and, nearly instant, death in large amounts, such as the H2S leak in Landman, OSHA. Many oil workers, like Dale and Boss, wear electronic detectors that can alert them to the presence of H2S. When hydrogen sulfide leaks are identified in real life, there are usually processes in place to ventilate the area and get the gas out of restricted spaces. Many oil workers will also carry personal protection equipment like gas masks, which Landman also got correct. In summary, the oil business is constantly and greatly concerned about H2S.